Hi, my name is Johnny Hamilton, and I'm going to show you how you can use the smartboard and a document camera to support vocabulary lesson ideas. So I'm going to focus on several strategies, including building vocabulary, interactive games, and think, pair, share. I'll also focus on the big idea of building vocabulary and have DIBELS connections to DORF and to DAZE. I'll be using the book called How Big is the World by Britta Teckentrup. So one activity you can use is to use clip art and words that are from the story. Now there are several characters here. There's a whale and a horse. There's also a mouse. And I can go into the gallery over here, bring up a keyboard, and type in mouse. I'll take a look at the search results and drag in the actual mouse onto the page. I can change the size of it, move the location, and in this book, the students can come up and select each of the words that goes with that corresponding character. So for example, they can bring up scampered, and then enormous goes to the whale, and trotted goes to the horse. So they can identify which words go with which characters quite easily. Another activity they can use is to focus on a particular word within a sentence from the story. And so the word we're going to focus on is scampered, but I want them to focus on that in a particular way. So I'm going to choose the pen, and I just want them to look at that word. One way to do that is to change the pen settings. So I can take a look at one of the options, which is a magic pen. Now the magic pen allows me, when I do an oval, it focuses a spotlight just on that word. I can still see the rest of the words in context, but that's the word that we're focused on. I can close that. I can also make that word larger while still in context by drawing a rectangle around the word. Now that word is a lot larger and we can focus on that. Another way of focusing on there is to choose a highlighter, and I can just draw straight across, and that way it's still within context. So there's a couple of ways of highlighting specific key words to build vocabulary. Another way is to look at it exactly in context within the book. And I have a document camera that has its own software. And so this is How Big is the World, and you can see that it's a live image. And I can open it up to the page that we're looking at. And as we can see, I have the actual text here. Now I want to make sure that it is lined up so it is completely horizontal. I don't want anything that's skewed. And we can show that the word trotted, which is another vocabulary word, is right in here. But I want to be able to take a look at that word and actually write and mark up on it. So I can go back into Notebook. I'm still in the highlighting mode, and I actually accidentally made a dot here. I can undo that, go back to the arrow select. I want to bring up the camera tool. Camera tool is a floating toolbar which I can move in any spot. I can bring it up to the top, and I'm going to bring up the live image once again. So I'll see the book. I'm going to choose the left button here, which is Area Select, and I'm going to choose this part of the book, which is the text that I'll be using, and it's going to copy that directly into Notebook. And it should do that quite easily, and it didn't quite do that, so I'm going to try that one more time. Go straight across, and it will drop it directly in. Now when I go back in, now I have that text, and I can make it a little larger if I want, and I can focus specifically on that word. So something else we can do is we can do a think, pair, share with the students. Here's another vocabulary word of enormous, and so they can remember that the whale was enormous, and they can write down some other words. You can have them think about what words are synonymous or a definition of enormous. Have them talk to each other, and then when they share, have one or both of the students come up and start to write some other words that are the same thing as enormous. After they do so and write down a few words, you can also click on a link here, this goes to a website called VisiWords, which is an online graphical dictionary. And what I can do is bring up the on-screen keyboard so I don't have to go to the computer, and I can enter a word directly in the search item. Just to make things a little clearer, I'm going to minimize the screen capture toolbar, and we'll wait for the page to load for just a second. This will have a dynamic interface. It will bring up a sample word that automatically comes up. But I'm going to bring the keyboard down. I'll click in the search area, and I'm going to type in enormous, and then hit enter. I'm going to minimize the keyboard, and I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. And we have enormous, and it is either tremendous, or large, or big, grandness, greatness, immerseness. If I go to large or big, it will start to populate other words that are the same as large or big. And this is a dynamic thing, and it's a great way for students to come up and take a look at each of these words. We have bear-sized, epic, which is not the same thing. We do have huge, immense, and vast. And this is a great way to get students to interact with a lot of these words, and it will introduce a lot of words for them. There's also a legend on the side. There are a lot of websites that you can use that have interactive media in it that the students can use up on the board. You could also do a screen capture of this, or you could go between this site and Notebook to write some more words up here. Now you can also do more interactive things with the vocabulary using some of the built-in games. Now the games can be found in the Lesson Activity Toolkit in the gallery, and that's where I pulled this particular game from. The way this one works is you have the students come up and they drag the words over, and it will go into the correct spot, or not, and we'll see. So if they have it correct, or if they don't, but they will bring over the words into the correct spot, and then they're going to check to see which ones they have right and which ones they have wrong. You can put your own information just by clicking edit up here, and you can put in your own word and your own description. And so that way you can stay focused on your particular content. You can click OK, and it brings it back, and you can always reset so you can play the game again with other students. This is another way that the students are more interactive with the board and with the content. The last thing is to look at a DAZE type of measure. And in this case, we have a text box here and another one that has a rectangle around 3 words that are up here. And so you can have the students, as they read it, to the tiny ant, that slice of cheese looked, it's either massive, fragile, or minuscule on the plate. So you can have a student come up and move this, and then you can read the whole sentence again and move it the way that you want to. You can also tell the students, just so that they get practice using this type of standardized measure, that this is the correct way of marking it. You can also take a look at what other cues would give meaning to that word in terms of, well, what word is it, in terms of a context clue that's in there. So those are just a couple of ways that you can use a smartboard and a document camera to use some vocabulary lessons.